Okay, thank you for stopping in again and continuing on my conversation about hellfire. I had someone ask me to be a little specific about hellfire as it pertains to being mentioned in the Quran, which opens up a pathway to some very interesting conversations. So I thank you for that. Now, across the pages of the Quran, a place of unimaginable torment is described in very vivid and haunting detail, a place where the fire does not simply burn but consumes, crushes, and never relents. This is Jahannam, the abyss of reckoning. But the Quran does not just refer to hellfire by a single name, but by 7 names. There are 7 manifestations of this divine justice, each with its own horrors, its own torments, and its own fate for those who enter. So we're going to explore these in a little bit of detail here. Now, Jahannam is the most frequent name of hell as it's mentioned in the Quran, appearing over 70 times. Derived from Hebrew word Jahina, it represents the vast, all-encompassing pit of fire, awaiting those who reject the truth. It is described as having 7 gates, each assigned to a different level of punishment. And it says in the Quran that literally it has 7 gates, for each gate is an appointed portion of them, the fires. Next, there is Sakar, which is the fire that leaves nothing behind, as it is known. Now, this name is said to shake the soul. It is being described in the Quran. It says, I will cast him into Sakar, and what will make you understand what Sakar is? It lets nothing remain and leaves nothing unburned. Sakar is relentless, burning through flesh, mind, and soul alike. Very powerful words. Jahim is the blazing fire, and it is said to be the furnace of the afterlife, a raging inferno where punishment is not just fire, but also humiliation. The Quran warns that indeed, the hypocrites will be in the lowest depths of fire. The Laza, or the fierce raging fire, is said to be an uncontrollable force. It is mentioned as a blazing fire that strips away the skin. It does not just burn, it consumes. Sa'ir, the eternal blaze. Now, this name Sa'ir literally means the blaze that never ceases. And the name appears in the Quran repeatedly, warning of a punishment that stretches beyond time. And there is a passage in which they are begging for forgiveness to be delivered or taken out of this evil, and the response in the Quran is, he will remain despised therein and do not speak to me. So that punishment sounds like it's definitely an eternal punishment. Hatuma, the crushing fire, it's said to crush souls under enormous weights, fiery debris, and falling embers. And it is said this crusher does not just burn, it crushes the victim. The warning that goes with this says, nay, he will surely be thrown into the crushing fire. And what can make you know what the crushing fire is? It is the fire of Allah, eternally fueled, which mounts directly at the hearts and reaches beyond flesh. It crushes the heart, the soul, and the very essence of a being. Now, the last or 7th is Hawiya, which is called the bottomless abyss. It is a pit with no end, and there are figures constantly falling into this endless darkness. It is the ultimate void. It is a punishment far beyond fire, and it is said in the Quran, and for he whose scales are light, his refuge is Hawiya. And what can make you know what it is? It is fire, intensely hot. This is the final fate of those who have denied, those who ignored the warnings, and those who turned away. So 7 very graphic depictions about what hellfire, or this punishment fire, which is what it is. Again, it's an emotional energy, what it actually represents. Now, the Quran, like other sacred texts, are filled with passages about redemption and forgiveness, but it issues some very stark warnings for those who don't choose those paths and what that hellfire actually means. So thank you again for suggesting that I work this piece out about this representation of hellfire in the Quran. It's been a completely enlightening work for myself, and definitely appreciate that. If you have more that you want to add to this, please do so in the comment section. And again, I ask that you hit that like and subscribe.